Question 8, differentiated instruction. I believe that what we're looking at here are the different modes that students learn by. Audible, visual, tactile being the common three. We certainly needed to do that. We worked very hard with a SIOP model. We had pre-tests in order to assess them both at the beginning of the year and before each unit. Those tests, we paid a lot of attention to Bloom's taxonomy. We were interested in determining where they were academically, try and discern what kind of styles they were good with, and then try and find out where their interests lie. If you can find where a student is interested, then you have them. You can really make good progress. My particular style, I do tend to lecture a bit. I use PowerPoints. If I were doing it today, there's a new bit out there called Notebook. That's like PowerPoint on steroids. You can encompass a lot more things, videos, special effects. If I were to use that, I'd feel much better about it. And I believe that when you do the PowerPoint, that is something visual for them. And it's never quite complete. I always enhance what's up on each slide with my own additions to it. And I always have a handout of all the slides to give to the students so they don't have to scrawl like mad trying to get their notes down and lose track of some of what they need to think about and what they need to see. So I do that. With renewing my certificate last time, I needed to put in a bunch of clock hours, and I did something called Schoology, which is bringing technology into the class, things like flex classes or flipped classes, where in fact there are some classes where all of the learning work is done at home via internet. And then you come to school for help, for getting homework done, for all the other small tasks, and to keep track of where you are. Of course, in my class of science, we have labs. I also use a lot of activities. We do things like with a mock-up with a yardstick and some pinholes and cards, we go out and measure the diameter of the sun. I made them make moon dials so that they could get a better feeling for the geometry of the Earth-Moon-Earth-Sun system, and why the phase of the moon is what it is, and what time of day it is based on how you can look at the sun and the moon. We did a solar system mock-up using different nuts. What I did was I blew up a helium balloon, the yellow one, to represent the sun. And then we marched off distances to scale. And then at each distance we had a card down with, like, for instance, Mercury, we'd have the just head of a pin there through the card to represent its size. And then you'd march on and you get to the Earth and it would be like a peanut. You get to Jupiter or Saturn, we'd have like hazelnuts, really large ones. And each time we got somewhere we could look back and look at the balloon. And because it was also blown up to scale, you could get an idea as to how big the sun looked from that distant planet. And we kept marching, and the distances got greater and greater, and that gave them an actual feel for the scale of the universe and how very far the far planets are, because we ended up going all the way around the school and still just barely getting to Pluto. And then of course I asked them on the scale where would be the nearest star, and although we were in a suburb, the nearest star was somewhere in the middle of Denver. So I think that helped to give them a better idea. Labs, I like to use, push on the scientific method, of course, but I try and bring in cooperative learning. When they do their labs, I divvy them up into jobs. Someone has to be the report writer. Someone has to be the equipment handler responsible for setting up any labs and tearing them down. Someone else has to be the data taker, take down all the numbers. Someone else is responsible for calculations. Another person is looking at sources of error. And of course the most important person is the leader. And I refuse to talk to anybody in a lab group except for the leader. That way I only have to deal with 5 or 6 students at a time, rather than 2 from one group, 3 from another group. And it gives them a better idea on how to be organized, and then we make them switch these roles as they go along. Finally, there's the assessment. Again, after a round of Jeopardy, we give them tests. Sometimes it's multiple choice and essay. I think both are useful. Sometimes it's graded by projects, both suggested by the teacher and sometimes suggested by the students. And then my favorite technique is to have them teach a topic. They come in, they talk to me, we sit down, we look over what they need, and then we have them teach. And there is no better way to learn than by teaching. And this, of course, is difficult for some. It is difficult for anyone to get up in front, especially of their peers, and not make a fool of themselves. And some people are really shy, and I try and find another way to handle that. So that's my approach to differentiated instruction. Thank you.